comes to the limited series Griselda, I'm going to be completely honest and say I found it to be quite intriguing. I was intrigued of learning about how she started this business, having one brick of cocaine and ending up having hundreds, and even when she was getting offers to settle because they were being intimidated of her business, she decided to put her foot down and not want to settle but be partners. And when she didn't get her way, she forced herself into their business to the point that they had to accept her as an equal and not kind of treat her like a delicate flower. In this show, we see that she's not afraid to be confrontational, even with those in power. She would either injure those people physically or in the business tactics of putting her foot on their neck, just to showing that this is the amount of pressure she could put on and she's not going to be treated anything less. She wants to be seen as an equal, and she will go into those dirty tactics that they often do as well, just showing that she should be feared and she should be seen just like that, and ignoring the fact that she is a woman. Through this show, they have instances where they try to humanize her, as we see that she is having to order the deaths of certain people for her to succeed in this, some of those people having families or being an entire family to have murdered. And we see it does take a toll on their mental health, and it's somewhat a struggle for her to do because she is also a family person as well, and so she knows what she's doing is wrong, but in order to succeed in this business, you got to be as dark and as heartless as her competition. Through this show, we see similar parallels between not only Griselda Blanco but the character of June Hawkins, who is a female detective slash officer in the show. We see the parallels as they're both in an industry that is male orientated, and when they try to push their instincts and initiatives, they are getting a lot of pushback because of the fact that they are women. We see this in episode 2 when we are introduced to June Hawkins, that she is treated just as another secretary, even though she is far more than that. She has a lot of great instincts, and when she goes to push upon them, they are thrown back in her face, metaphorically. In that same episode, we see Griselda being treated somewhat similarly, but by the end of the episode, we see that she has gathered respect of a particular colleague. And then in the next episode, we see June Hawkins starting off at a low, but towards the end, because of her initiative and the fact that she refuses to take a no for an answer and gets evidence analysed behind people's backs, that she actually gets an arrest, making herself look good, not only on herself for going with her instincts, but because of the officers around her. In that same episode, we see Griselda starting off at a high, but gradually going downhill into losing nearly everything. When it comes to the violence in the show, I have to say it is something to witness. For the most part, we do get to see it. It's quite gory and graphic, but there are a lot of cases in which we don't actually see the violence itself. We know somewhat what's going on, but it was never visually seen. I like it. It gives us, the audience, the imagination of what exactly they are doing, how brutal it is. Something I really enjoyed about that show. This is a small thing I enjoyed, but through the show, as we see Griselda's power getting bigger, we see the effects it has on her children, and later when she is somewhat a partner, we see that this power of hers has a huge effect on one of her children, and they believe that they're indestructible and untouchable just because the fact they are Griselda Blanco's children, and this allows them to get into somewhat stupid decisions. Because of their actions, they cause a lot of grief for Griselda, who has to somewhat sort it out. Now, to me, Griselda's downfall was the most intriguing part of this show, as we see that because of her drug usage, it created a paranoia effect on her, and she starts to distrust everyone around her, including family and even close personal friends. Now, to me, the last episode was actually quite a great watch. We see the downfall of Griselda Blanco to the point that she has to flee Miami, and she turns herself in so that the cartel don't get their grubby hands on her, because she knows that they won't simply kill her, they'll do much worse. And what starts off as somewhat a clever plan in her eyes, we see the police wanting to get her arrested for more than just drug trafficking. They decide to be very clever and use her children as a way of leverage to get that. And I thought it was a very clever tactic on the police's behalf. Sadly, it doesn't go as planned, but it's quite funny as to why. The best part of the finale in my eyes was the fact they didn't show her death. We hear a lot about the tragedy that goes on while she was in prison, but they don't show her death. We see that in writing as she is on the beach, somewhat reminding herself of a memory of her and her family on the beach. Whether this is a real memory or just something she's concocted whilst in prison is up to the viewers, but I think it was a great way to end the show overall. Now when it comes to criticisms, I'm going to be completely honest. My main issue with this series is we spent so much time on the rise of Griselda Blanco. I felt like the downfall of the show felt very quick. They made it seem that all of her downfall was in one night, when we know this is more of a gradual experience. And I felt like the show should have been at least 8 episodes, so that we get 4 episodes spent on her rise and 4 episodes on her downfall. But alas, we only get 6. That is my only criticism. Overall, I really enjoyed learning about Griselda Blanco and how she started her business from 1 brick of cocaine all the way to thousands of bricks, and how she had to fight her way into this quite male-orientated industry. And not only that, but it was interesting learning how the police stumbled upon her very early on, but only realised she was a bigger threat when she herself started to gain a rise in popularity. And it was interesting learning about the tactics the police used in order to get her conviction. Is it good? Personally, I'd say it's quite good. Rating wise, I give it a 6.5 out of 10. Now when it comes to would I rewatch it, I'm going to be completely honest and say no. As much as I enjoyed the show, I felt like there's a lot of details of Griselda that were missing from this, and if I want to learn more about Griselda, I'll definitely go and find it on a documentary. This is an interesting adaptation of her life, but if I want to learn more, there's definitely better shows to find. When it comes to recommendations, I would start off with the TV show Narcos, not only because both Pablo Escobar and Griselda Blanco, which the show's main focus on, are from Colombia in the Medellin area, but because the shows themselves also deal with the rise and fall of these quite big characters, but also because this show is created by the same people that created Narcos. Next, I would recommend the TV show B&F, or Black Mafia Family, as again it's about the rise and fall of the Flemmery brothers, who were 2 brothers who started dealing cocaine in Detroit but made it really big in Atlanta to the point that they set up their own record label in a way to launder money. Next, I would recommend the TV show Snowfall, which is loosely based on the life of Freeway Rick Ross, who was the main distributor of crack cocaine in Los Angeles. Now, the show is loosely based off of his life, but again, it's just seeing the rise and fall of the main character, how he started off very small, just selling bags of weed, to ending up selling thousands of bricks of cocaine all throughout Los Angeles, and his huge effect he had on the city. And then lastly, I would recommend White Boy Rick, the 2018 movie with Matthew McConaughey. It's again about a kid who is somewhat forced into selling drugs by the FBI, and once he is caught, they somewhat leave him out to dry, even though he helped them catch a lot of big fishes in a sense. Those are my recommendations. This has been my review for the limited series of Griselda. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed, please like and subscribe, but most importantly, thank you and have a nice day.